So when we first planned this trip, who was not happy about it?
Jarod and Alex. Okay, today it's a sad day because we gotta say goodbye to Disney.
Why they weren't happy?
Two cautious children.
Our two cautious children had this vision in their heads of the Florida Keys, the Florida Everglades, and there's gonna be all these pythons.
Tropical jungle, like we'd
Yeah.
have to use machetes to like... So now we're headed down to the very southern tip of Florida, to Pennekamp Coral Reef State Park. And it's near Key Largo. We'll be there for I think 8 days.
Right up until the time that we got here, they were very vocal about not coming here at all. They, you know, they would joke about it, but they were serious.
Turn left, then your destination will be on the left.
Yeah, it was something we were both looking forward to. And McKenna,
Yeah.
she's not as cautious, but I hadn't been to the Everglades. So, you know, we wanted to experience it, especially down in the Keys where you're kind of just on an island and water
Yeah.
on both sides.
So we're down here in the Florida Keys at Pennekamp Coral Reef State Park in the Florida Keys. And Jarod, we were checking it out. Jarod was complaining he was hot because it is a bit hot and muggy today.
It's start downpouring. So we found this picnic pavilion and it's not raining.
It's not raining, but he was hot. And I think Jarod even said he'd welcome rain because he was so hot.
But our whole time in Florida so far, you see signs about alligators, and everywhere you go where there's water, there's a chance of there being an alligator. But we really haven't seen many.
No,
we
we
see some
don't.
along the road, like tanning
Our canoe
themselves.
trip, when we were
along
at Wakaiwa, we saw an
bank.
alligator. Jarod pointed that out. We're still not going out on supboards.
Yeah, we're swimming in the
No.
water. If it says a sign, could be alligators, swim at your own risk, okay, fine, I've been warned, I'm not going to do it.
When you see that sign, the crocodilians, I think they're called, could be in the water. You shouldn't swim with them. But then it says swim at your own risk. We're not doing that. Okay, there's the dark cloud. So next, we're leaving the pavilion, and then we got to get over to, there's a building right over there before the next cloud comes. So you may be wondering, because we did get this question from someone, how did you get to the Florida Keys in your RV? And you may not know, but you might, that the Florida Keys are a bunch of islands off the southernmost tip of Florida.
Right, and you need an RV that's one that turns into a boat, so you can drive it.
No.
No?
No. He would like an RV like that. There's actually, like, I think I read, and we'll correct this if I'm wrong, but I think I read there's like 42 bridges that connect all the islands, the Florida Keys. So you actually drive right down by Miami and get through there and connect right to, what's the route number out here?
Route
1. Okay. You think I could remember that? No. So you can just drive across Route 1, past Miami, and come down, and there's, if you are RVing, there's a bunch of state parks to stay at.
Really nice ones too.
Pennekamp. There's also Curry Hammock State Park, and there's Bahia Honda State Park. I know that park is still recovering a little bit from Hurricane Irma that came through in September of 2017. There's also a lot of RV parks, so it is a nice area to come to, despite what Alex and Jarod's first impressions were. Jarod's going for his 12-year-old look. Takes after his dad. You put a hat on him and he gets a few years younger. You're kind of creepy looking. So the other day, Alexandra and I were out walking on one of the trails, and
With your machetes.
with machetes. And it was a good thing too, because suddenly I had a death grip on my arm. You would be surprised at the strength of Alexandra's grip. Dead stopped in my tracks, and I'm looking around ahead. I honestly thought snake. And here it was a spiny iguana. There's a lot of green iguanas around, and she had seen those, and we went through a similar display of affection when we saw those, but I told her about the green iguanas.
They don't look too scared. They kind of look just like larger geckos.
All right, and then up here, if we go further, we're gonna get the birdies. Hi guys. It's okay guys, you can keep eating. Carmel and Pepper were also scared. They were like, whoa, it's much bigger than the little gecko lizards we see everywhere. The dogs are good with those, but when they saw the big green ones, they're like, wah, no. So anyway, but this wasn't even a cute like green one that blends in with the grass and stuff. This was like a gray-brown spiny lizard.
Very prehistoric looking.
He was. And so she's like, no, no, no. And I'm looking, finally I looked my gaze up ahead, and he was about, I don't know, 40 foot in front of us, strolling across the path. And yeah, he was a little daunting looking. He did look kind of prehistoric. But I know we read up a little bit, so we knew they weren't harmful. You can let us know down in the comments, would you have been scared if this guy was crossing the path in front
Would
of you?
you have tried to catch it? So it's a little scary at first, but once you looked it up, and they're not scary, they don't bite you.
Well,
maybe if it was like cornered, it might
yeah,
defend itself.
And that's the thing. If you have a fear of something, like you're fearful going down there, you just have to educate yourself more, I guess, is, find out. So what we did, so when we first saw the green iguanas, what we did, Alex and I went up to the ranger station, and we just asked, we're like, what are they? And, are they harmful or anything like that? So they told us, actually, the green iguanas here in the Florida Keys are actually considered an invasive species. People had them as pets, and then they let them loose. And they can go crazy having like tons and tons of babies in their lifetime. So they have like overtaken sections.
Yeah, they like, just dig up landscaping
Yep.
and eat plants and...
Yeah, like where we're from, you're worried about the bunnies and the groundhogs and stuff, digging up your plants and all that. Here it's the green iguanas. The ranger was telling us, he said, oh yeah, he goes, they are such a pest. He said, they're always digging up my wife's flowers and they eat the vegetables. So, like we said, Jarod and Alex's really big fear was the Everglades. It sounds scary, right? Everglades, does that sound scary? But we went
swampy.
So it's gonna be a fun day. We are headed out to Everglades National Park today. We got over to the Everglades. So we went over to the Everglades. We dragged them kicking and screaming. No, they were actually excited about going then.
Yeah, they were.
Once we got down here and they saw, okay, it's not, what they thought. So, but Alex was still a little fearful. Alligators, crocodiles, the whole python thing. Maybe if you lean in. There they are. Hey. So yeah, we're headed out to the Everglades today. Later this week, we're gonna go on a glass bottom boat ride. The National Everglades Park is massive. We're gonna go see just how big it is. But there's a 38-mile main road through it. I mean, it's Everglades, so I guess it's like a lot of water. So there's not a lot of roads through it. Yeah. So
Swampland.
There is a mainland, main road, 38 miles. So we're gonna go drive that, check it out.
I'm gonna listen to the Great Water Debate. I'm not exactly sure what that is yet, but... Okay, so I figured out what the Great Water Debate is. So the water in the Everglades is being used for different things, like a plumbing system, and it's having an effect on the environment. So there's different people, homeowners, and fishermen, and vacationers, and rangers, who are all debating how to use it, or how to use it differently, and what's the best option for protecting the environment.
But while we were in there, we were looking up the accessible trails. So there's a lot of accessible trails that are like half mile to 0.8 miles long, like boardwalks and stuff. Cool. And this 38-mile stretch that we're going on, there's like a whole ton of them. There's like 5 or 6. He said, well, I said the one's closed.
Have fun today.
Alrighty.
So this is what do they call it? America the Beautiful Pass. Now, Brian gets this automatically, being permanently disabled, but they do have passes that you can buy. I think they're yearly passes. We're gonna look that up, and then we'll put that information up, because there are yearly passes that you can buy. And if you are full-time RVing or traveling a lot and you love to go in the national parks, it's worth your while, because $25 each time does start to add up. And say you want to go in a couple days in a row, that kind of thing. So it is worthwhile to get a pass. So Jarod was on the lookout for his alligators, crocodiles, whatever he could find. And he actually found one like a quarter mile into the walk. We were walking along and Jarod spied one. So it's just, it was actually cute, and alligators are cute. It was
baby
about
ones.
this long and it was cute.
See why people take them as pets.
I
They're
could see
adorable.
they are really cute. They could still bite like your fingers off, but they are really cute. So he had found this little alligator and it was just sitting there, and then we pointed out to some passerbys, and then as we're, you know, just watching him, this couple from Europe came by and they were telling us, oh, you know, if you want to see up there at the end of the boardwalk, there's one underneath the boardwalk and his tail's sticking out. We went walking out the boardwalk.
And we found it, eventually. We walked like the entire boardwalk, like, where is it? We don't see it. And then finally we got up this little offshoot, and there it was. There was about 3 feet of tail. What? Laying there, it wasn't, the alligator wasn't moving. It was just, you know.
Yeah, a lady
Someone
came up and she's like, are they dead?
Yeah, because
Are you sure they're not dead?
it
And
looked dead because it was just
Yeah.
black. I mean, they were darker than I thought. I thought they were more like a greenish. You should have seen the kids that were scared of the alligators. They're like down looking through the cracks
You can see its mouth through this crack.
Alex
of the
wasn't.
boardwalk. Well, yeah, no, not so much.
I don't think Alex likes alligators.
Jarod was like looking down through the cracks trying to see his head because the tail was sticking out. His head was under the boardwalk.
So, but he just the fear vanished.
Yeah.
So
And the more we get exposed to seeing them,
Yeah.
the less fear you have of them. I think it's
yeah,
the
I
same
mean,
with
we'll always
anything.
be cautious. They're an extremely dangerous animal. I mean, they have killed people, and of course pets they get a lot. So they are extremely dangerous. But we were in a safe position, and Jarod and Alex felt safe. And then what was funny is, so everyone's looking at that tail, and then you just moved over, and under this like one tree there was a head sticking out. So that's why there were two. That's why the lady said, are they dead?
The other one is just the tail, and if you look through the cracks, you can kind of see the face. But this one, the face is sticking out.
Because there actually were two. And, you know, so then we were pointing the other one out, and they were both, Jarod got down that one too and was looking for its tail underneath. So we estimated both of them were about 6 foot long.
Yeah, they were pretty big.
6 to 7 foot long.
Yeah.
And if you're worried about alligators, we can rent out Jarod. He is very good at spotting them. He found all 3 of those. He spotted the one up at Wakaiwa.
Yeah.
So I just bring him along, so in case
You'll
there are
see 'em
alligators,
with plenty of warning, and you
yeah, we just
can
steer
redirect
clear
your course.
of them. No, it doesn't.
Alex is more than happy to turn around because the path gets really narrow, so Daddy can't really go. And Alex is like, okay, I gotta turn around. She doesn't like the possibility of alligators and snakes.
So what's really amazing as we walk along this boardwalk through this lush green, you know, forest here in the Florida Everglades is to think that 26 years ago, Hurricane Andrew came through this section of southern Florida and just wiped everything out in here. So much of this is new growth that came back after the hurricane, and it was just decimated and leveled, and none of this stuff was left. But they said within a few days some of the trees started sprouting some leaves again, and there are some trees left, but this shows some of the devastation from that back to this.
I think it's really interesting that we're here, we're still in Everglades National Park. We've driven about, I think it was about 8 or 9 miles down the road from the last place we were. It was all marshy and swamp area. So we've gone from the swampy marsh to sort of like this forest. It's pretty neat, and it's all just within the same park. I mean, the park is big. It's 2,000 square miles, I think, something like that. So it's massive, but we didn't drive that far, and we're like completely different environment. Yeah, and one of the other things, one of the big things that we wanted to do at John Pennekamp State Park was they have
Coral Reef State Park.
John Pennekamp Coral Reef State Park, and that's important because this next topic is about the coral reef.
We're headed to go on a glass bottom boat. It's for 2 hours.
This is gonna be so cool.
Yeah, because literally the bottom is glass.
And we're gonna go see a coral reef. So here at John Pennekamp Park, you can go scuba diving, but we don't know how to scuba dive. So we're gonna go on the glass bottom boat instead and get to check it all out.
But we were a little unsure for me with the wheelchair. It said in the brochure you have to be able to get down this drop of 12 or 15 inches or whatever it said. Yeah, and we've been on boats before, especially at Disney. There's boats. We rode a boat a couple of times a day at Disney, but that's sort of on a lake, very calm water.
It's a safe boat.
On a big, safe, smooth boat. But going out on the ocean, the kids hadn't been on the ocean, I don't think, in a boat before.
No, the kids have never been out in the ocean, so that was a little bit scary too for them. We were going, the coral reef at that point at John Pennekamp State Park is like 6 miles out. So we were going 6 miles out into the Atlantic. All right, so we got here a little early. We thought we were late, but we're actually a little early, so that's unusual for us. So we're just hanging out. We just got to listen to the whole snorkeling thing. Most people do go snorkeling here, which is really cool, which the twins and I might do another time when we're here.
So we weren't sure if the kids would be getting seasickness or how choppy the water would be.
At the snack bar, we do sell some Dramamine, okay? Now, it is pretty calm out there today, okay? But even on the calmest of days, we do have some people that get a little seasick, okay?
And as it turns out, with me getting on, they had this nice ramp that went over it was a big aluminum thing that like hinged down to connect the dock to the boat. Just went up and over and right on. It was a piece of cake.
So for the first 40 minutes or so, people just kind of mill about. Yeah, upstairs. We'll open up the front deck and the back deck in just a moment.
This is so cool. We're gonna be able to look right down here and see the fish. Right now we see mud and water, green water. But we're gonna see fish soon. We can all crowd around.
Sharks. They're just not on our payroll, so we don't know when or where we're going to see them. Once we get into open ocean, we do see quite a few sea turtles, especially when we're getting towards the outskirts of the reef. Upstairs is a really great place to kind of see everything, especially it's murky here because we're in the creek. But once we get to the open ocean, it's very clear, it's really good visibility.
So it's only a little less than a mile in the river, and now we're out in the open ocean in the Atlantic now. And it's 45 minutes to the reef, so we have
about 5 miles to go.
5 miles to go, but that's okay because it's really pretty.
So if you can see, they have these buoys just lining the pathway down. They actually had to dredge it out because the boats couldn't pass through.
The water is like so blue. blue. The minute you got out in the ocean, it changed from like kind of a more of a greenish to like this beautiful teal blue. It is so amazing. If you get to Florida and get to the Keys, you've got to check this out.
Down here because we are approaching the reef. We're not quite there yet. It's going to take us a few more moments to get settled over it, but we have slowed down. And in a moment, I'm going to open up this lower viewing area. Now, if you head down there, you can actually sit. You can sit down on your bottom and dangle your feet towards the glass. There's some black and yellow striped fish. Oh, there's a lot of them. 5 black and yellow striped. Those are called Sergeant Majors. Yeah, and 8, that was a blue parrotfish. That bigger guy. They're kind of like footballs. So we got the stony corals, and then we have the soft corals.
We are learning so many things out here on this trip. These trees that we see around here us are part of a mangrove forest, and they say that's the second line of defense in the case of a hurricane. Just in 2017, Hurricane Irma came through here a little bit and got it as a Category 2 winds hit this area. So the coral reef was changed a little bit, but not too much. But that's the first line of defense in a hurricane. And these mangrove forests that are all around here are the second line of defense for the mainland.
A part I found really neat was she was telling us about the sea fans, which is a type of soft coral, and how, well, we saw that there were purple and brown ones, and she said that it wasn't just a different variety, but when they're feeding, they're brown, and when they're not, they're purple. So there's some like bright purple and some brown and some like kind of in between. So I thought that was really neat how they actually like change color.
I would always be brown if I were a sea fan.
Yeah, I imagine that.
I'd always be eating.
If Jarod turned colors when he was eating.
Dark
The
brown.
brownest of brown all the time, yep.
It is good to educate yourself on what's around, and we did that with the park rangers, but also we watched a movie. They had this really cool aquarium at John Pennekamp State Park. All these different reef type fish and all these setups around it. So that was really neat to go in there, and they had this movie that played continuously. It was like a 55-minute movie, and it told you about what to expect under the reef and what kind of animals, you know, are there, and what fishes and you know, jellyfish and what to look for. So that was really neat. So we went in and learned about that. So, you know, if you're gonna go out snorkeling, you know, go find out what to expect down there.
And this small, skinny bass with a big mouth, it's called a jawfish. And this razorfish here, and this one, have thin bodies that lets them slice and descend and disappear.
Yeah, so what's funny about after we've been here now for a while, and all the cautiousness and fear over coming to the Everglades,
Yeah.
Jarod and Alex now are like chomping at the bit to come back. Like, when are we coming back? So it's kind of just a lesson for them. I'm glad it kind of happened that way.
Yeah.
They learned that, you know, it's okay to have fears and be a little bit cautious, but, you know, just be open-minded to it. And then once you've gone through and done some things that you might not have.
Yeah, don't let the fear like keep you from doing like really fun things. Hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing to us. We'd love to have you as part of our family. And
it's absolutely free to subscribe.
It absolutely is. So we will see you next Sunday at 8:30 Eastern Time. And remember, we do sometimes do bonuses on Thursday, so hit that bell so that you get notifications in case we put one of those extras up.
Right, and if you'd like to see even more bonus footage, check us out on Patreon and join our community there for behind the scenes sometimes, extra footage. You never know what's going to pop up there, and that link is in the description as well.